So I was doing clandestine operations in other places. So not war zone, like real world type stuff.
Are you allowed to talk about that at all?
There was one gentleman who he had a bunch of kids, and he kept, every time I met with him, he would say like they loved art and they just really loved art, but they didn't have money and blah blah blah. And he just kind of, he wasn't asking for anything, he was just in conversation. And so one time I ordered a whole bunch of art supplies from Amazon, had it delivered, and in one meeting I gave him a ton of art supplies, and it wasn't anything that was gonna like ID him or what, like the way I did it was smart. People can be quiet, and I wasn't going to kill him. Anyway, so I gave him these 2 boxes of like art supplies, but again, local art supplies. It wasn't from America. Anyway, he cried, which made me cry, because he was so excited how his kids were going to like receive it. And then the next time he came, he brought, and I still have it, he brought me, they had made me a book of art that they drew for me with all the art supplies that I had given them. And it's like one of my most treasured things, because it's those memories and touching those people, those little people who are now big people, right? That I just hoped that I could influence somehow.
It comes across when I was talking to you off camera before doing this, and in talking to you today, I don't say this as a shot to other spies I've had in here or whatever, but like it's a dangerous job, and there's highest stakes, and there's things to be done, and that involves manipulation, coercion, all this stuff. It's not to say you didn't still have to do some of that in your job. I get that. But like, it's very clear to me that you have the gene of like genuinely gives a fuck.
Yeah.
And that's not really like, and I'll put it like Andrew Bustamante, who's a friend of mine and, you know, says he's former CIA. Andy's there to do the job.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Andy doesn't feel it if like some kids die and stuff, but Andy is very much like, the world's a shitty place. You seem to be much more of in your role of an empath and feeling everything that happens around you. And I would imagine that just like he has skills that played well for him to be able to get people into his orbit, it's very clear these skills played well to people. They wanted you around. They wanted you like a member of the family in some of these cases.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Yeah. And you mentioned empathy. Empathy and respect are 2 of the keys to building trust, right? If you feel trust, your brain is releasing oxytocin, that feel-good chemical, right?
Yeah.
So if I can tap into that and make you trust me genuinely, like I'm not going to, screw you over, but if I can make you and your family trust me, we're building that rapport, we're building that trust, we're building that friendship that much faster. So that relationship will be that much stronger. Yeah. So when I tell you do this or don't do this, you will listen. Because I have your best interest at heart and your kids, and they can see it.
Mm. It's interesting, like reading your psychology with it all too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's what I do in my job with anyone who's in here, but it's doubly fascinating when people were operating at like the highest levels of national security. And it's like, again, juxtaposing you and Andy. Like you talked about, you grew up, you didn't fit in, you didn't have any friends or whatever. You wanted friends though.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you got really good at making friends, like you were a late bloomer and then it was as a part of your career because you started so young. You made friends with everyone. Andy didn't have many friends, had a really difficult time as a child and everything, had a seminal event that really ended up fucking him over and everything. And then he became the opposite. He's the, fuck that. I don't need friends. Mm-hmm. I got my wife. I got my kids.
That's all he needs.
And it's like, honestly, he's got like me and Danny Jones, right? Because like, I guess we understand him in a way. But it's interesting to see how you guys did similar jobs in different ways from a similar origin story, but had the opposite reaction to the origin story to do the job in the opposite way. That's
interesting.
Just really...
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that before I was talking with you, so I'm just like kind of live processing that.
It's like a therapy session.
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you have a couch I can lay on?
No. I literally don't own a couch, as you can tell.
I know. What's with that? Where's your furniture?
Listen, the money goes to him. That's what I do. I got mouths to feed here. You know, listen, don't say I don't put it all into my business.
It's true, but like you mentioned it, like I was a very lonely kid. Growing up, I was very, very lonely as well. The job with DIA, I was very lonely. And now I'm a single mom of 3. I'm very lonely. Like I am constantly still very, very lonely. But I think I've just kind of figured out how to embrace it, and I don't want other people to feel that way. So yeah, to your point, like empathy, it's my biggest demise.
Absolutely.
It's going to kill me one day.
Yeah, no, you'll be all right. I think you're hanging around. But you mentioned obviously several times now that it was 2011 when you went into Afghanistan. So you finished the 6 months in Mosul in 2009, 2010. You come back to America as a similar type middle between.
Yep.
I mean, you went to the farm after the first one. This time you're not going to the farm, but you're working the desk in America?
Sort of, yeah. No, this time when I came back, I was operational. So I was doing clandestine operations in other places. So not war zone, like real world type stuff.
Are you allowed to talk about that at all?
Not really.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Fair enough. So you get the assignment to go to Afghanistan. Now, we kind of talked about this broadly, but this is when we're coming up on 10 years in to this war. We're like 9 years in probably when you're going. We still don't have Osama bin Laden. Again, it started off very well, but then took the eye off the ball. And now, like when I've talked to people who were in Afghanistan in the late 2000s going into 2010, 2011, it's like you could start to see the shift happening.
Yep.
Before you went, did you have information that that's where it's going?
Yeah, because I had been working the Afghan desk as well. I had time there. So I could see it from the desk point of view too. But you could also see like priority shifting with requirements and things like that.
Why do you think the Taliban at that point, not 2021, but at that point, was starting to have success, let's say winning over some hearts and minds?
I have a few theories. When I studied counterterrorism, one thing, especially that interested me about Hezbollah, was that they actually had a branch for hearts and minds, right? They built hospitals. They had, they supported their people. So there's a militarized, a political, and then there's like the do-good branch. Afghan history is so different, right? And the groups are so different. But I think there was a bit of that as well. I don't know. Because the people that I worked with, the sources I met, even the locals that worked, at our house where we were, like everyone was like staunchly opposed and really afraid.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's that. I don't know if maybe it's, again, that, like I mentioned before, that fear, you fall in line because you're just trying to preserve yourself, your livelihood, your family.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people act out of fear in ways that they normally wouldn't, just for self-preservation.
Yeah. Now, when you were assigned to go there again for DIA's purposes, I'd imagine the main mission was for the protection of the assets, our military on the ground, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So similar kind of thing to Iraq, as far as like, where are the IEDs? Where's Taliban headquartered? Where do we got to stay away from? That kind of stuff?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a little bit of strategic as well.
What do you mean?
So the Afghan government was newly formed. There were a lot of big personalities, former warlords, like General Dostum, for example.
Yeah.
Just people and players that we're still trying to figure out. What's their motivation? What's their end goal? Who are they in with? So that kind of intel was also very helpful.
Okay. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.